Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our 9th annual Muthuswami dIkShitar ArAdhanA, hosted by Alberta Arts and Cultural Talent Showcase. Thank you for being here. My name is Ashwin Iyer. I'm the president of Alberta ACTS, and we have a wonderful program in store for you today and tomorrow, where we have nearly 50 different compositions of Muthuswami dIkShitar going to be presented by members of our community, both in Alberta and also outside Alberta. Today, I'm excited to tell you that we will be beginning with a presentation on the life and times of Muthuswami dIkShitar. He was a scholar, one of the trinity of the Carnatic music composers, and sometimes referred to as the Beethoven of Carnatic music, but we could also just as well say that Beethoven is the dIkShitar of Western classical music. As you'll find today, there's a lot to appreciate about this amazing historical classical composer. What I would like to do right away is to turn it over to Yogeshri Bharat, who is our youth group coordinator and who can tell you some more about the presentation that we have in store for you today. Yogeshri, I'm going to make you the host now. Please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you, Anna, for that introduction. So today, for the first hour, we will be having a special presentation by the youth group of Alberta. They're basically kids, children who have been learning music and who are interested, more than learning music, interested in contributing to this program. So they have also been an integral part of the Tyagaraja ArAdhanA as well. So we started off with that. With that in mind, this time we have a special presentation that was put together by the children. The first presentation will be on life of dIkShitar, and followed by a presentation on the unique aspects of dIkShitar kritis. There are that way many aspects of dIkShitar's kritis, but we have picked a few of them, which the children will be showcasing shortly. I hope all of you enjoy the presentation that the children have put together. If you have any questions on the presentation, please feel free to drop your questions on the chat box, and we will be able to answer them once the program is over. So I will first share my screen, and then I would like Kushal to start. Kushal and Akshara, who will be starting the presentation on life of dIkShitar. So let me just share my screen.
Yogeshri, can you remove the spotlight on me and put it on the presenters, please?
Yes, I'll do that. I'll just share my screen, and then I will be able to, or I will just, okay, I've spotlighted Kushal. I will now share my screen. I hope everyone is able to see the screen.
Yes, I think we can see it, and we can see Kushal as well.
Amazing. Kushal, over to you, Kushal.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Kushal, and I'll be sharing the presentation Life of dIkShitar. Intro of dIkShitar. dIkShitar was born in 1776 near the village Thiruvarur near Tanjavur. He was the eldest son of composer Ramaswamy dIkShitar, who instructed in a number of subjects, including Vedas, poetry, music, and astronomy. He had two younger brothers, Chinnaswamy, Baluswamy, and a sister Balambika. Trinity of Carnatic music. The musical trinity consists of dIkShitar, 1775 to 1835, Tyagaraja, 1767 to 1847, and Syamasastri, 1762 to 1827. Although, unlike the Telugu compositions of the others, Dikshitar's compositions are predominantly in Sanskrit. Beginning of his career. According to the legend, Murugan, the deity of the temple at Tirutani, placed a piece of sugar candy in dIkShitar's mouth and commanded him to sing. This marked the beginning of his career in music and also led him to adopting the mudra, Guru Guha, one of the many names of the Murugan. His first composition was Srinadhadi, Guru Guho Jayati Jayati, in Raga, Maya, Malav Gaula, and Aditala. His musical journey. He then went on a pilgrimage, visiting and composing at the temples at Kanchi, Tiruvannamalai, Chidambaram, Tirupati, and Kalahasti, Srirangam, before returning to Tiruvarur. Muthuswami dIkShitar attained mastery over the veena, and the influence of veena playing is evident in his compositions, particularly the gamakas. I'll be handing it over to Akshara.
Namaskaram everyone, I'm Akshara and I'll be presenting on the rest of Sri Muthuswami dIkShitar's life. Education. An ascetic named Chidambaranatha Yogi took Sri Muthuswami dIkShitar under his wing and away to the city of Benares, which is now known as Kashi. There he was taught music, philosophy, and yoga. He was also exposed to Hindustani classical music, particularly the Drupad style, which is the oldest known form of Hindustani music. His knowledge of Hindustani music would have a great influence on his later compositions. So some of Sri Muthuswami dIkShitar's more known kritis are Gananayakam in the ragam Rudrapriya set to Adi Talam, Sri Ramachandro in the ragam Sri Ranjani set to Mishra Chaputalam, Swaminatha in the ragam Natai set to Adi Talam, Jambupate in the ragam Yamuna Kalyani set to Tishra Ekatalam, Sri Vishwanathan in the ragam Malika set to Adi Talam, and Sri Krishnam Bhaja in the ragam Todi set to Adi Talam. Sri Muthuswami dIkShitar attained Samadhi on Diwali Day, which was October 21st, 1835. On that day, he had asked his students to sing Meenakshi Memudam, one of his compositions, in the ragam Purvi Kalyani. As they were singing the line Meena Lochani Pasamochani, he proclaimed Shive Pahi and attained Samadhi. His Samadhi is set in Ettayapuram, which is nowadays known as the Thoothukudi district of Tamil Nadu. Subbarama dIkShitar is credited for preserving and promoting Sri dIkShitar's kritis. He is the adopted son of Balaswami dIkShitar, who is the brother of Sri Muthuswami dIkShitar. Subbarama dIkShitar created the Sangeeta Sampradaya Pradarshani, a text that contains over 200 compositions of Sri Muthuswami dIkShitar as well as other composers. What's special about the Sangeeta Sampradaya Pradarshani is that it also uses a system to specify the different gamakas that are used in each kriti. And it also serves as a valued reference for deeper learning of Carnatic music for musicians and musicologists. Sri Muthuswami dIkShitar's legacy was carried on by his disciples. Some of the known ones are the Tanjore Quartet, Mirdangam player Thambiyappa, Veena player Venkataramana Iyer of Avudayar Koil, Thiruvarur Kamalam, Vallalar Koil Ammani, Koranadu Ramaswamy, Tirukkadiyur Bharati, and Tevvur Subramanya Iyer. He is now well recognized as one of the trinity of Carnatic music, alongside his two contemporaries from Tiruvarur, Saint Tyagaraja and Sri Shyama Shastri. Every year around the world, the dIkShitar ArAdhanA is held in honor of his devotion and his contributions to Carnatic music. On this day, students professionals, and rasikas of Carnatic music come together to celebrate his life and his compositions by performing renditions of his kritis.
Thank you, Akshara and Kushal. With that, that was a short presentation on the life of dIkShitar. Of course, it's very little that we could manage to fit into the time. There are many points that we would all love to share, but this was what we could do to fit into the time. So now we will look at certain unique aspects of Sri dIkShitar's Kriti. And this is compiled by 5 children. And I would like to first call upon Dyutit to speak first. I will now I will share my screen. I hope everyone's able to view the screen. These unique aspects of dIkShitar's Kritis are compiled by Dyutit, Ekangsh, Medha, Ishan, and Swara. And these will be on different aspects of the dIkShitar Kritis. So Dyutit, over to you.
Okay. Namaskaram. I will be presenting on Ragamudras in dIkShitar's Kritis. And can you please switch the slide? Yeah. Okay. Types of Ragamudras. Muthuswami dIkShitar is very well known for his clever use of Ragamudras in his compositions. The following are the Ragamudras used in most of Muthuswami dIkShitar's Kritis. Pratyaksha Ragamudras are Ragamudras where the name of the raga itself is used in the composition. Suchita Ragamudras are Ragamudras where there is a similar sounding word used in the composition. Sometimes the Ragamudra can also be the name of the raga split between 2 words. Implementation of Ragamudras. Muthuswami dIkShitar uses these Ragamudras in different ways. One of those ways is to utilize the meaning of the word itself in the composition. An example would be using the word Shankarabharanam, which means ornament of Shankara in a kriti. A Ragamudra can also be used to show that a certain deity prefers a certain raga, like the composition Vatapi Ganapatim, Hamsadvani Raga Rupakatala. Ragamudras are also used in Ragamalikas to show what raga is being used. Ragamudra examples. Vatapi Ganapatim Bhaje, Hamsadvani Ragam Aditalam. In this kriti, there is a Pratyaksha Ragamudra in the line Hamsadvani Bhushita Herambam. This Ragamudra is implemented to show that Lord Ganapati is adorned by the raga Hamsadvani. Shri Saraswati Namostute, Arabi Ragam Rupakatalam. In this kriti, the Ragamudra lies in the words Samsara Bhityapahe. In the kriti, the 2 words are sung without a pause in between, which allows the end of Samsara and the start of Bhityapahe to combine and sound like the word Arabi, the name of the raga. Ragamalikas. Muthuswami dIkShitar's father, Ramaswami dIkShitar, is very well known for his Ragamalika compositions. Ragamalikas are compositions where each segment of the song is a different ragam. There are also talamalikas, which have different talas, and raga talamalikas, where both the ragas and the talas change each segment. One of Muthuswami dIkShitar's well-known Ragamalikas is a composition called Sri Vishwanatham Bhajeham, otherwise known as the Chaturdasha Ragamalika. The Ragamalika uses 14 ragas and is set to Aditalam. In the first section, the composition starts with 7 segments containing 7 of the ragas used. Each segment has the Ragamudra of the raga it is set to. Following this are 7 shorter segments called the Vilomam, where the ragas used are reversed. There are no Ragamudras used in these segments. Next, there are 7 more segments that contain the remaining 7 ragas of the composition, each segment containing the Ragamudra of the raga used. The last Vilomam contains 14 shorter segments in which the 14 ragas used throughout the composition are used in the reversed order. Thank you.
Thank you, Dyutit. Over to Ekangsh for the next aspect.
Namaskaram to all. My name is Ekansh Narayan, and I'll be presenting the use of Madhyamakalam, Prasas, and Yatis in Kritis by Sri Muthuswami dIkShitar. Sri Muthuswami dIkShitar is credited for being one of among the first pioneers in using Madhyamakalam or medium speed in his Kritis. Like always, he used Madhyamakalam in many of his Kritis for many particular reasons. Firstly, he wanted to add a unique and special contrast to the tempo of the Kriti. This would be done by doubling the amount of matras or counts in one beat or aksharam of the talam. It was often the immediate transition between the slower speed of the Kriti and the new faster speed of Madhyamakalam that caused such a unique and special contrast. Secondly, Sri dIkShitar wanted to balance the slow speed of Vilambakala Kritis with the faster speed passage, and to add a special contrast to the Vilambakala Kriti. He would also do this in the same way, by doubling the speed of the original Kriti. Thirdly, he wanted to introduce a variation among his lengthy charanas that were sung at the same speed for the whole time. Often, his charanams were sang for a very long time with not so much variation, and a special twist was needed in order to evoke a new feeling. Sri dIkShitar incorporated Madhyamakalam into his Kritis by creating sahityas or chittaiswaras that would be in Madhyamakalam, often in the charanas of his Kritis. An interesting fact to point out from dIkShitar's sahityas is that many of them are composed of Tanam phrases grouped together. His experience as a Vainika may have led to this. An example of one Kriti that incorporates Madhyamakalam is the Kriti Ananda Natana Prakasha in Mishra Chaputalam and Ragam Kedaram. Here, the Madhyamakalam passage is illustrated in both the Anupallavi and Charanam of the Kriti, with a unique section in the Charanam called Sol Kattu Swaras, where swaras are combined with Carnatic music percussion syllables. Not only was dIkShitar highly accomplished in Carnatic music, but he was also an expert in Kavya Prayoga, or the art of composing poetry. Sri dIkShitar loved the intricate play of words, and he loved to coin sweet-sounding phrases that would sound so beautifully together. He loved to use these Shabda Alankaras, or phrases that would bring out the essence of the poetry or Kriti. An example of one of his key Shabda Alankaras was the prasa. Prasas are essentially repeated syllable sounds that are added to particular stanzas of lines in a Kriti. Sri dIkShitar intentionally used prasas to add a rhyme effect to his Kritis because of the repeated syllables. Sri dIkShitar created many different types of prasas, and he named them differently according to where they were all used in a stanza. Here are some types of prasas that dIkShitar mainly used. Firstly, dIkShitar used the Adhyakshara prasa. Here, repetition occurs in the first syllable of each line. An example where Adhyakshara prasa can be found is in the Kriti Dyagarajaya Namaste in Ragam Begada and Rupakatalam. The prasa is located in the charanam of the Kriti. Another example of a prasa that he used was the Dvitayakshara prasa, where rhyming occurs in the second syllable of each line. An example of Kriti that incorporates this Dvitayakshara prasa is the Kriti Dyagarajam Bhajare in Ragam Yadukula Kambhoji set to Mishra Chaputalam. The prasa here is also incorporated in the charana. Thirdly, Sri dIkShitar used the Antyakshara prasam, where the last syllable in each line of a stanza is repeated. The Kriti Dyagarajo Virajite in Ragam ArAdhanA and Talam Rupakam portrays this prasa in both the Anupallavi and Charanam. Usage of yatis. Another of dIkShitar's intelligent techniques used was the yati. Yatis, just like prasas, were also Shabda Alankaras. By using yatis, Sri dIkShitar played with the words of a Kriti by altering the lengths of these words in a stanza. These different lengths in the words would create varied geometric and improvised patterns in the structure of a Kriti, which is what a yati is. dIkShitar made the yati so that it did not use the normal format in the uniform length of lines, to create sahityas. In other words, he made sure that each word was not continuously held for the same amount of time as the other. Instead, he varied the amount of time each word was held for, creating these different types of geometric patterns. For example, he used a type of yati called the strutovaha yati, which relatively follows the pattern of a broadening river. The pattern starts from small words at first, gradually increasing to large sentences at the end. In Carnatic music, yatis are so important because they require coordination among all the three main artists of the stage: the mridangam artist, the vocalist, and the violinist. Yatis rely on all the efforts of these artists to truly bring out the real effect of the yati. However, the artist that is most essential to bringing out the yati is the mridangam player. The mridangam player is so vital in bringing out the yati because of the unique rhythmic patterns that are in the yati itself. The mridangam player represents these unique rhythmic patterns that are essential to be emphasized in order to bring out the essence of the kriti. They also, very importantly, bring out the creative side of the yati and the kriti. Usage of yatis continued. Sri dIkShitar also used many other types of yatis other than the strutovaha yati. For example, he used the goputra yati. It is said in the goputra yati where the shape is the tapering of a cow's tail. Here, it starts from big sentences, narrowing down to small sentences. Next, he used the mridanga yati, which was in the shape of the mridangam, the holy Carnatic percussion instrument. Here, he started from small words at first, then gradually increased to large sentences, and then back again to small words again. Finally, he used the damaru yati, which was in the shape of the damaru instrument, played by Lord Shiva. Here, he started big sentences, and then he started going to small words, back to big sentences again. An example of a kriti that incorporates yatis is the kriti Shri Varalakshmi Namastobhyam in ragam Shri and Rupakatal. The yati here is incorporated in the pallavi of the song, where the sahitya goes Shri Sarasapade, Rasapade, Sapade, Pade, Pade. Now, if we look closely at the order of the sahitya, we can see that each line is being reduced by one syllable, except the line Pade, which is a repetition of the other line, Pade. As a result, we can conclude that it's a goputra yati, since the length of the words starts big and goes to a smaller length, just like the tapering of a cow's tail. Here, reduction is happening, and so the words get smaller in length continuously until it goes back to the main sahitya. From all of dIkShitar's special creations, including the yatis, prasas, and use of madhyama kalam, we can vividly see how great of a composer he is. He used all these aspects so cleverly to create such amazing compositions whom none of us could ever create. No wonder he's part of our Trinity today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ekansh. That was really informative indeed. Can I now invite Swara to take over to explain the Swarakshara prayoga, please?
Namaskaram. My name is Swara and I am going to do a presentation about the Swarakshara prayogam by Sri Muthuswami dIkShitar. Swaraksharam is another dimension of Carnatic music. If you closely observe the word Swaraksharam, it is a combination of two words, namely Swaram and Aksharam. A Swaraksharam occurs when the Swaram, note, and the Aksharam, syllable in the lyrics, become one and the same. Every one of us are aware that the Sapta Swaras, Sa, Ri, Ga, Ma, Pa, Da, Ni, are the basic notes for any raga. Aksharam is nothing but the meaning words of a composition. If the composer is able to coin the aksharam with the help of swaras, it is nothing but swaraksharam. This is a delightful jugglery of words.
The hallmark of all great composers is that the Sangeetam and Sahityam gel so well. The way word and meaning are inseparable, the same way the Sahityam and Sangeetam in the compositions of all the great composers are inseparable. Sri Muthuswami dIkShitar is probably the most intellectual composer ever. His intellect was combined with bhakti, gnana, and vidvat. The whole family of Sri Muthuswami dIkShitar seemed to have an obsession with Swaraksharam, but their Swarakshārams were not done for the sake of doing it. Sri Muthuswami dIkShitar's Swaraksharams were not contrived but fit in so well with the Raga Bhavam. They just fell in place and merged well with the Sahitya. For an example, many of you might know the kriti Saraswati Manohari. All re syllables in the Pallavi of Saraswati Manohari kriti fall on the note re. In the Anupallavi of the same song, the syllables ma, da, and re fall on the notes with the respective names. Let's go into a little more details. First, let's look at one of the simple Muthuswarams and how dIkShitar incorporated Swaraksharam. I chose this as the first example because most of the kids learning music will be aware of this Muthuswaram. Let's start with the first line. Sarikama Syamalemi. Did you notice something? The first letter in the Swaram and the first letter in the Sahityam are both the same. Similarly, let me sing another line. Pa 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 ma 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 pa mara mochani. In Pamara, the pa is on Panchamam. Both Swaram and Aksharam are pa, and at the same time in Mochani, the mo is on Madhyamam. So both Swaram and Aksharam are ma and mo. Let's move on to the next slide. Another beautiful kriti in Kamas Ragam, Sarasa Dalanayana, has interesting Swarakshara prayogam by Sri Muthuswami dIkShitar. In the Charanam, both first and second lines start with 3 Swaraksharams. The first line, Maghama Sotsava Prabhava, has Swaram Maghama and has Sahityam Maghama. Here, all the 3 Swarams and Aksharams match. Similarly, the second line, Manita Guruguha Vandita Bhava, has Swaram Manida and has the Sahityam Manita. Manida and Manita has Aksharam Manita are all Swaraksharams. Quite amazing, right? One last but not least example which I would like to present in front of you. Let us go to the next slide. Another set of famous kritis are dIkShitar's Navavarna kritis. One of my favorite kritis is the Kamalambam Bhajare in Ragam Kalyani. And while I was working on this presentation, I wanted to explore Sri Muthuswami dIkShitar's Swarakshara prayogam in this particular kriti. And I was so amazed. There are a lot of Swaraksharams in this kriti. Especially the first line of Charanam, Sarvasha Paripuraka Chakraswamini Paramashiva Kamini. So the first 3 syllables, Sarvasha Pari, and the swaram is Sa Pa Sa Pari. Sarvasha are all Swaraksharams with Sa Pa Sa. The second syllable Va is an implied Swaraksharam with Swaram Pa. And again, Sha syllable is a Swaraksharam with Sa. If we move to the next work in Sahityam Pari, it is again Pa is lower Pa and Re is Re Swaraksharam. Next, if we move to Parama, the Pa is on lower Pa and Kamanim is on Ga Ma Pa. That is a total of 8 Swaraksharas in just one single line, which is quite incredible, right? Now I can't stop looking for Swaraksharams in every kriti that I hear and learn. Makes learning more interesting. Hope you will enjoy learning more from now on too. Thank you.
Thank you, Swara. That was very, very nicely done. Very good. Can I now request Medha to show us the points on the Hindustani influence in dIkShitar's Kriti, please?
Namaste, I am Medha and I am pleased to be presenting about the Hindustani musical influence on Sri Muthuswami dIkShitar's Kritis. Muthuswami dIkShitar once went to Varanasi to be under the tutelage of his guru Chidambara Natha Yogi, where he learnt yoga, music and philosophy. At Varanasi, he listened to Hindustani music, mainly Drupad music, and got deeply inspired by it. The elaboration of the ragas, called alap, the tempo of the music, and the structure of the lyrics captivated his imagination. In fact, he not only diligently studied Drupad, but also composed kritis inspired by the Drupad music. There are many influences of Drupad music in dIkShitar's works. Firstly, the language and the structure of kritis. His kritis are in Sanskrit and follow well-knit structure like Drupad compositions. His kritis do not have more than one charanam. Many of his kritis do not have an anupallavi. Instead, they have a samashti charanam, or their anupallavi acts like the charanam. Second aspect is the alap or raga elaboration and the tempo vilambakala. Inspired by the Drupad way of elaboration, the tempo of his kritis are usually slow, measured and majestic, called vilambakala. His kritis are rich in jaru gamka, just like the Mainland Drupad. But he added his creativity to this. In the midst of his kritis, there are lines which he rendered in higher speed, that is madhyamakala. Thirdly, he got the idea to transform Hindustani ragas into Carnatic form and compose some kritis in these Autareya ragas. Some of the important kritis are Cheta Shri in Raga Dvijavanti, known as Jai Jaivanti in Hindustani. I will play a clipping of Cheta Shri to demonstrate how this raga was imported to Carnatic.
Yogashri, and when you share this presentation, I think you have to click the share sound button. Otherwise, we won't hear sounds from the presentation. Medha, maybe, I don't know who shared it. Did you share the presentation or did Yogashri Akka share it?
Yogashri Akka.
So on Zoom, Yogashri,
Is
are you there?
it now possible? I mean, I just shares. Just a second.
So can you stop sharing it? Stop
Oh.
sharing it for a second. Okay, now when you reshare it, you get an option to share different windows, right? There's a
Yeah, I have
checkbox
to
at the
share
bottom
sound.
left. Yeah, that's what you need.
Share. Okay, let me try now.
Yes, we hear it.
To Rangapura Vihara in Raga Vrindavana Saranga. Please listen to the main aspect of Drupad, especially in the rendition of the word Vihara in the audio clipping. Three, Meenakshi Memudam in Raga Purvi Kalyani. 4. Jambu Pate Mam Pahi in Yaman Kalyani. 5. Sri Subramanyaya Namaste in Raga Kamboji. 6. Sri Satyanarayana in Shubha Panturvarali, known as Miyakitodi in Hindustani system. 7. Parimala Ranganatham in Raga Hamir Kalyani, which is Raga Kedar in Hindustani music. Fourthly, dIkShitar used the Drupad style and even in some Carnatic ragas, thus integrated his new experience. Examples of such kritis are Akshayalinga Vibho in Shankarabharanam and Balagopala in Bhairavi. These are just a few examples of his creative genius. Thank you.
Thank you, Medha. That was indeed very informative. Can I now request, I'm sorry. Can I now request Ishan, who will be wrapping up this presentation by discussing dIkShitar and ragas. Over to you, Ishan.
Oh, namaskaram, everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about dIkShitar and the ragas that he composed in. Next slide, please. Carnatic music consists of three main components, the raga, tala, and bhava. When talking about the Carnatic music trinity, the oldest of all is Shama Shastri, followed by Tyagaraja, and finally Sri Muthuswami dIkShitar. Shama Shastri is known for his expertise and compositions in different talas. Tyagaraja compositions are filled with emotion, that is the bhava. And lastly, dIkShitar's compositions were numerous ragas. The raga bhavam is evident in each of dIkShitar's compositions. It is believed that if a student learns a dIkShitar kriti in a specific ragam, he or she would have learned all the nuances of that ragam. That was the depth and beauty of his compositions. Furthermore, dIkShitar embedded the raga name in the composition also as an indication for future generations to not tamper with or change the tune of that composition, thus preserving the authenticity of that composition. Next slide, please. dIkShitar followed the Asampurna Melakarta scheme for raga classification as outlined by ancient scholar Venkata Makin. Saint Tyagaraja, on the other hand, followed the Sampurna Melakarta scheme for raga classification. Kanakambari and Kanakangi. Kanakambari is the Asampurna Melakarta scheme, and Kanakangi is the Sampurna Melakarta scheme. The same applies for Fena Duti and Ratnangi. 479 kritis composed, out of which 423 are in Shuddha Madhyama and 56 kritis are in Prati Madhyama Mela. dIkShitar also composed in 40 Vivadi Mela ragas, such as Nata, Varali, and Vagadishwari. Vivadi raga is a raga with overlapping notes, and it's very challenging to compose. dIkShitar handled Vivadi ragas with lots of ease and aesthetic beauty. Next slide, please. So here are some ragas that dIkShitar composed in, like the rare ones. So Malava Panchamam, Mangala Kaishiki, and Megha Ranjani were the Janya ragas of the parent ragas, Maya Malavagola. And then Shuddha Vasanta is the Janya raga for Shankarabharanam. Karnataka Shuddha Saveri is the Janya raga for Kanakambari. And the Calgary group tomorrow will actually be singing a kriti in this ragam, so please do listen to that. And finally, Mahuri is a Janya raga of Kedara Gaula. Okay, next slide, please. So here are some interesting facts. So just like any beginner of Carnatic music who learns Sarali Swaras in Maya Malavagaula, dIkShitar also chose Maya Malavagaula to compose his first kriti, which was Srinathadi Gurubuho. It's interesting to know that Maya Malavagaula and Shankara Bharanam are denoted by the same name in both Asampurna and Sampurna Mela schemes. There is an interesting story behind dIkShitar's composition in Amrita Varshini in the Kriti lyrics where he sang Varshaya, 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 rain poured. There was no composition in Karahara Priya as there was no Asampurna Mela equivalent of that ragam. Such was the genius of dIkShitar, and hence even after 187 years since he left his mortal form, he is still celebrated, and his compositions in their authentic and unique form are being sung and passed down to generations. This concludes my presentation, and I hope you all took new and valuable information from what was presented by our youth volunteer group. Thank you very much. Over to you, Yogashri Akka.
Thank you so much, Ishan. Very wonderful presentation. Thanks to all who worked so hard in putting the presentation together and presenting with such informative facts. Over to you, Anna.
Okay, let me reclaim the host role. That was a simply fantastic presentation. Consider that these kids have been, learning music for just a few years. They're only a few years old, it seems, and they're talking about some of the most academic concepts pertaining to the compositions of one of the most academically inclined composers of Carnatic music, and with such perfect pronunciation, extremely well researched, extremely well presented, simplicity in the slides, even with musical interludes and demonstrations. This was an extremely high-class presentation that any community in the world, not just in Edmonton and Alberta and Canada, but any community in the world would be honored to showcase as part of an ArAdhanA like this. So congratulations to the entire youth group. Wonderful work. And congratulations to our youth group coordinator, Yogashri Bharat, who helped with all of this, who coordinated the whole thing, and to the parents of the youngsters who surely invested a lot of time and effort to get them to study and prepare and rehearse. It's a monumental effort, and they've done it so effortlessly. So congratulations to all of you again, and thank you for setting the stage for what promises to be a wonderful dIkShitar ArAdhanA. Now, officially, our individual singing portion begins at 2 p.m., which is just about 15 minutes from now. And so we will not get started with that until 2 p.m. arrives. So I thought that perhaps we could have a discussion now, maybe a question and answer from those who are on the Zoom call right now, on dIkShitar, or comments on what they learned from the presentation. And so let me do this. Let me, can I ask Yogashri, would you mind turning on your video as well?
Sure.
Perfect. So I guess we're both, can everybody see both of us here?
Yes.
All right, so let me do, what do I do here? Okay, there. Now I think everybody can see both of us. So maybe Yogashri, you and I can moderate this discussion. So does anybody have any questions among our panelists or our attendees regarding the presentation or about Muthuswami dIkShitar? Okay, if not, then maybe we can just discuss some additional points that have been motivated by the presentation. So one thing that I appreciated very much is Swara's delineation of the usage of Swarakshara in the Kriti Kamalambambajare. dIkShitar has, there's another feature about that Kriti that you might be interested in, which is that there is a Chittaswaram, which is not often sung. And dIkShitar has composed this Chittaswaram to be palindromic, in the sense that if you were to write it down in Swaras and read it forward and backwards, it would read the same way. So I'll demonstrate that if I can. So the Chittaswaram is sung after the Anupallavi of the Kriti. Sari ga mada ni ri ga pada mada ni ga sari ni ri ga ni sa ni ri sa ni da da pa. That's the halfway point. Now it goes in the other direction. Pa da da ni sari ni sa ni ga ni ri sa ga ni da ma da ba ga ni da ma ga ri sa ka ma la. So if you were to read this both ways, it would read exactly the same. So one would ask, what compels dIkShitar to do? What's the reason why one must invest so much effort to make kritis that comply with this prasa and yati rules that talk about specific deities corresponding to specific temples or specific events, making all of the astrological references that are known to those deities, talking about anecdotes from the Puranas referring to those deities, and then also adding things like Madhyamakala, Swarakshara, Raga Mudra, Vagyakara Mudra, and then on top of it, things like this, special features, little Easter eggs, if you will, of Chittaswarams that read palindromically. Yogeshri, do you have a comment you want to make on that?
Well, I believe that composers then, whether it was Sri dIkShitar or Shama Shastri or Tyagaraja, many other composers, one thing that I strongly believe is they were indeed blessed, indeed in literal sense blessed, and it just used to flow out of their mouth, I would say. It was a blessing from Saraswati Devi herself. That was one. Second thing is, when we compose, like Ishan mentioned, there must be bhavam, there must be ragam, there must be talam. It can't be just a combination of words put together, but it has to convey a meaning, convey an emotion, but in a beautiful, intricate, literate manner. And the takeaway that I get from here is that Sri dIkShitar was extremely knowledgeable, and that is very important. It was just not emotions and words put together, but also with a lot of in-depth knowledge of Shabdalankarams or literature per se. When you weave in literature and have all the other aspects, it comes out so beautiful that even after 187 years or 200 years, we are still singing it with the same fervor, and we are trying to analyze it with the same fervor. Otherwise, I don't believe it will last so long,
Mm-hmm.
So I strongly believe that compositions last long for the fact that there are three things: literature, bhavam, and music put together.
That's very well said, Yogeshri. So a lot of people refer to dIkShitar as a scholar, so academically minded, almost like a teacher, if you will. So what are the elements of a good teacher? When a teacher teaches something, it has to be memorable in some way, but it can't be purely entertaining because there's a concept to be conveyed. And more than that, there's a responsibility that the one who is being taught is able to reproduce this accurately. And this is especially important in our culture and music because there was not really a practice of writing things down for centuries, even millennia. The idea was this should be passed down through some sort of an oral tradition. So ORAL, the speaking, the teaching part of it, and the AURAL, the listening part of it, oral tradition. Imagine what would happen if we know about the broken telephone effect. One person whispers a message into one person's ear, and then that person whispers into another person's ear. And after 20 generations of this, the last person's message is almost unrelated to the first person's message because there's no way of preserving the authentic message unless you build in some sort of a code, some kind of a code that maintains the fidelity of that message. And the usage of prasa and yati is that code. So as an example, if I sing Vatapi Ganapatim, Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham. And then I forget the second line. I'll know that these rules of prasa and yati typically demand that the second line will also start with va. Oh, okay. Varanasyam pradam Shri. And then Anupallavi. What if I forget that? Well, I know that the Pallavi and the Anupallavi are also connected through that dIkShitar prasa. Vata. So the Anupallavi must also be something ta. Bhutadi samsevitachar. You see, even when this is a code that prevents the loss of information when you can't write something down. So it's not just a feature, it's a necessity in all compositions, in shlokas and other things. There's a certain meter that that is observed for many different kritis and shlokas, and there's so many different rules that have to be accommodated. And I think people like dIkShitar come into existence only to show that it's possible to do these things that to the rest of us mortals we might consider impossible.
Absolutely. It's just like saying in layman terms, when we, for example, when I'm doing my research work, I'm a chemical engineer, but I'm not doing only chemical engineering. I need other tools. For example, I need computer science, a little bit of knowledge of computer science. I need to know a little bit of anything, mathematics. I need to know. So a lot of it is a combination. So when we're doing something like music, so what I believe, like you said, all the composers like dIkShitar have established is so that we can learn easily, understand, learn, and then deliver easily. A little bit of everything is added into their compositions to ensure that we can learn easily, in fact. It is not for them, it's in fact for the future generations for sure. And one thing that I really definitely wanted, whenever we talk about yatis and prasas, so I remember learning for I was reading, I forgot his name, Samba Shivamurthy's book, T.R. Sambashiv, the book, the musicologists, all the musicologists referred, when they say yatis and prasas, they pick up dIkShitar's kritis. So it's very beautifully laid out in his kriti. So in fact, what I was telling the children was, you've all done a great job, but show an example. That is the best way for anyone to understand what you're saying. You just have to bring out the example. That's it. Everything is right there. And just show them the example.
That reminds me of another important point, which is that do you know how musicologists identify certain kritis that are thought to be dIkShitar's kritis, but they say, no, this is actually not dIkShitar's kritis. They identify them by mistakes in the prasa and yati. Mistakes, which means that dIkShitar is assumed to be flawless. Right. He would, with so much care to so many things, he would not make a mistake on something as essential and fundamental as prasa and yati. Absolutely. So there are certain kritis. For example, the ones that come to mind are Shri Krishnam Bhajamanasa in Todi, Sarasijanabasodari in Nagagandhari. These are kritis that we all think about and that we know, but there are some people who contend that these must not be dIkShitar's kritis. Also consider the what are known as the kritis on the different days, on the different planets.
Navagraha kritis.
So I was looking for that term, Navagraha. So the presumption is there are 9 of them, but dIkShitar has composed 7 of them.
Right.
7. There are 2 that are composed that must be composed by somebody else, and it's speculated that they were composed by his disciples. Perhaps the Tanjore Quartet has composed these other 2 kritis. And it's almost tantalizing to think, why would those 2 kritis not composed by dIkShitar have contained an error in the prasa and yati? And some people think perhaps it's because it's an expression of deference from the disciple to the guru. That I will compose in your style. I will use the raga mudra guruguha or the vagyakara mudra guruguha, as my offering to my guru. But at the same time, I cannot claim to be as perfect as my guru. So perhaps the mistakes were intentionally inserted as a way to show to those who know this is not originally dIkShitar's, but it's a tribute to dIkShitar and can never achieve the level that dIkShitar achieved. So wonderful. What else can we discuss, Yogashri? We have a couple of minutes left. Anything else interesting that we can talk about?
I really like one thing that I have understood is when you learn dIkShitar's kriti, you learn two things. One is you learn the language Sanskrit. So if any of you are looking out to understand Sanskrit, I think dIkShitar's kritis are the best. It's very, I feel like they're not too complicated. I think it's very easy to understand the language or learn by learning dIkShitar's kritis. And another thing that I personally I have learned by learning dIkShitar's kriti is learning different aspects of a ragam through different kritis of his. So that is something that I have taken away, and I'm sure everyone would take away, that from his kritis. And how elaborate, when you talk about a dIkShitar kriti, there is a contrast. You have small kritis, very small kritis, and then you have really large in terms of the sangadis, or in terms of the words, in terms of the structure of the kriti. So that contrast is always there. Some kritis are very small, you can finish it off in a minute, singing it in a minute, and it's quite short, and the others are huge, and you need to spend so much time learning it as well as delivering it. So that contrast is, I see when I learn more, I see that a lot more.
Well, dIkShitar has essentially provided throughout his lifetime and his compositions, about 500 something compositions that we know of. He's provided a snapshot of culture, what we knew to be our culture at that time. Everything from astrology to mythology to
Absolutely.
Science. Well, the science, whatever was known science of the time. The science of music, certainly, ragas and that kind of science of language in his Manipravala kritis, science of in doing so, he's based. If you were to know nothing about Hindu culture, and all you came across were the kritis of dIkShitar, and you studied them, you would perhaps have a more than sufficient knowledge.
Yeah.
Of an authentic knowledge of what the culture represents. Another thing that dIkShitar did is that some people refer to these kritis as uga bhoga type kritis, or like samashti charanam kritis, where they don't have a pallavi anupallavi charanam. It's just pallavi charanam, right?
Yeah.
And many of these kritis, if you notice, have chittaswarams, and many of these are composed in ragas that were dying ragas in his time. Ragas that, had there not been a composition made in those ragas, perhaps the ragas would have been forgotten completely. So not only did Muthuswami dIkShitar create these compositions, make them small so that they're easily disseminated and propagated through the Guru Shishya communities, but also adding a chittaswaram that very clearly shows the usage, the prayogas, the lakshanas and lakshas corresponding to those ragas concisely inside that chittaswara. So for example, if you were to forget, you may remember all the lyrics through the prasa and the yati, but do you remember how to use the raga? Look at the chittaswara. It tells you exactly how to use the raga. And so in that sense, he's revived and enabled ragas to live into eternity through his compositions.
Absolutely, yeah.
So now we're at the hour almost. And so I think we can move on now. So what I would like to do is I'd like to introduce, thank you, Yogashri, for that very interesting discussion. I'd like to introduce our host for today's events, Mamta. I'm going to hand over the hosting duties to you, and please introduce our MCs for today's events.
Sure, Ashwin. Firstly, wow, that was an amazing presentation. There were so many takeaways for me, and I'm sure all those who were watching also learned a lot. It almost seems like we need to have, we should set some more time to talk more about dIkShitar's works, and 1 hour is not really good enough. But
Sorry, everyone, just 1 second. Something happened here. Sorry, Mamta, please start again. I'm sorry, something. Very sorry about that. Go ahead.
That's fine, Ashwin. So that was a great wrap up of the presentations on dIkShitar's works. And what I was just saying before we got cut off was that it seems like 1 hour was not enough, and we may have to set aside more time to talk about his works and all the compositions in detail. So with that, we move to the next segment of the ArAdhanA, which is the individual presentations of the dIkShitar kritis in vocal, violin, and veena. I'm sure you're all very eager to listen as much as I am. So without further ado, I would like to invite Shreya, who is our first MC for the day, to take over and introduce our first participant. Over to you, Shreya.
Hello, I'm Shreya. So first we will have Ashmita Acharya singing Mahaganapatim in the ragam Nate. Ashmita has been trained under her guru, Vidwan Shri Ganesh Raj. This composition is set to Adi Talam. This composition is a popular kirtana in praise of Lord Ganesha. It extols Ganapati as the Lord worshipped by great sages like Vashishta and Vamadeva. The son of Lord Mahadeva, who has the brilliance of 1,000 cupids and patron of poems and drama, is dear to the composer Guru Guha. Nate is a Janya Ragam from the 36th Melakarta scale, Chalanata. It's an auspicious ragam sung easily in concerts. Over to you, Ashmita.
Do we have you on the wait list here? Because I don't see her.
I don't think she's on the wait list.
Could we move to the next participant?
Yeah. Okay, so next we have the composition Vande Meenakshi, set in Chatashra Ekathalam, sung by little Amrita Ashwin, who has been trained under Shri Ashwin Iyer and Srimati Radha Rajagopalan. This composition is in the popular ragam Shankarabharanam, the 29th Melakarta ragam. It is one of the most popular ragas across the world. With regular spaced swaras, this song is often the major ragam in concerts. This is a Muthuswami, which is one of 39 compositions of dIkShitar. They are notable as they have an interaction between the East and West, being based on Western sources. They are all composed with Sanskrit lyrics in the Western C major scale. The pitch intervals of C major scale correspond to the Shankarabharanam ragam. These compositions are simple melodies devoid of gamakas. dIkShitar's brother, Muthuswami dIkShitar, adopted the Western violin to Carnatic music. It is believed that dIkShitar composed these lyrics to aid his brother master the plain notes of the violin. Over to you, Amrita.
Okay, you can start.
Vande Meenakshi Swam Sarasita Vakshi Aparne Urge Natasura Brinde Shakte Kurguhapa Lini Jalajuha Jayane Sundara Pandya Nande Maye Suri Janadare Sundara Raja Sahodari Gauri Sabakari Satata Mahamba.
Thank you so much for that beautiful rendition, Amrita. Next, we have Sohan Mokamati singing Ramachandran Rajivakshan set to Adi Talam. Sohan is being trained under Srimati Vipanshi Mokamati. This is in the ragam Shankarabharanam and is also a Naktiswaram. Over to you, Sohan Mokamati.
Sadi
sa di ga sa ma ga di sa ga ma pa pa da da pa ma ga da pa 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 da da pa ma ga ma 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 da pa ma ga di pa 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 da da pa ni sa pa 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 da da pa ni sa ga da ga ma di pa da ni pa sa sa pa da ga ma di pa da ni pa sa sa pa 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 da da pa ma ga ma 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 da pa ma ga di pa 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 da da pa ni sa pa 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 da da pa ni sa Ramachandram Rajivaksha Shyamalanga Saswatakirtan Komalahasta Kosala Raja Mamakahe Kamalakaranta Marutiyuttam Dimantam Manita Bhakta Srimantam Kaumaravara Guruhu Amitra Karunyavida Dasharada Putra Bhumi Sutapa Bhupati Rupa Komala Pallava Padam Moda Kama Garundi Tarama Kaustuva Bhusham Vande Ham Ramachandram Rajivaksham.
Thank you, Sohan. That was wonderful. Shreya, I think we have the first participant on the online now. Could we please introduce her? Ashmita.
So now we will have Ashmita Acharya singing Mahaganapatim in the Ragam Nate. Ashmita has been trained under Guru Vidwan Shri Ganesh. This composition is set to Avitalam. This composition is a popular kirtana in praise of Lord Ganesha. This kirtana extols Ganapati as the Lord, worshipped by great sages like Vashishta and Vamadeva. The son of Lord Mahadeva was the brilliance of thousands of cupids and the patron of poems and drama is dear to the composer Guru Guha. Nati is a Janya Ragam from the 36th Mela Karta scale, Chalanatta. It is an auspicious ragam sung easily in concerts. Over to you, Ashmita.
Thank you, Shreya. Namaskar, everyone. My name is Ashmita Acharya, and today I will be singing one of my most favorite kritis from Muthuswami dIkShitar called Mahaganapatim in Nataraga and Ekatadam. My guru is Vidwan Shri Ganesh Raj. Mahaganapatim Shri Mahaganapatim Shri Mahaganapatim Manasa Smarami 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 Vasishta Vamadevadi Vandita Vasishta Vamadevadi Vandita Mahaganapatim Manasa Smarami Vasishta Vamadevadi Vandita Mahaganapatim Mahadeva Sutam महादेवसुतं गुरुगुहनुतं महादेवसुतं गुरुगुहनुतं महादेवसुतं गुरुगुहनुतं मारकोटि प्रकाशं शान्तं मारकोटि प्रकाशं शान्तं महाकाव्यनाटकदिप्रियम् महाकाव्यनाटकदिप्रियम् महाकाव्यनाटकदिप्रियं मूषिकवाहनमोदकप्रियं महाकाव्यनाटकदिप्रियं मूषिकवाहनमोदकप्रियं पप्पमगमरिसरि सा पप्पमगमरिसरि सा पप्पमगमरि सरि सनि सपमगम पदनि सरि गम मरि सरि सानि पम नि पमरि गमरि रि स सानि पमगमरि सरि ग महागणपतिं मनसा स्मरामि वसिष्ठवामदेवादिवन्दित महागणपतिम् Thank you.
Smita, thank you. That was very beautiful. Shruti Suddham. Could we move on to the next participant, please?
Next, we have Aditi Ramanan singing Shri Gananatham Bhajare in the ragam Isha Manohari. Aditi has trained under Srimati Shubhalakshmi. This kirtana is another kirtana in praise of Lord Ganesha. He is worshipped as the one along with goddess Parvati. Ganapati is described as wearing a serpent as a sacred thread and who is served by Vishnu and who is seated in the lotus of Chinmula. Isha Manohari is the Janya Ragam of the 28th Nilakarta Ragam Hari Kamboji. Over to you, Aditi.
Namaskaram. Shri Gananatham Bhajare Shri Gananatham Bhajare Chitta Parashakti Gananatham Bhajare Chitta Parashakti Gananatham Bhajare Chitta Parashakti Gananatham Bhajare Chitta Parashakti Gananatham Bhajare Nagayajna Sutradharam Nagayajna Sutradharam Nadalayanandakar Nagayajna Sutradharam Nadalayanandakar Gananatham Bhajare Chitta Parashakti Gananatham Bhajare Agamadhisan Vapujit Agamadisan दुःखशालिभावितं भोगिशायि सेवितं कशालिभावितं भोगिशायि सेवितं रागद्वेषादिरहितरमणीय हृदयविहितं श्रीगुरुगुहसन्मुदितं किन्मूलकमलस्थितं रागद्वेषादिरहितरमणीय हृदयविहितं श्रीगुरुगुहसन्मुदितं चिन्मूलकमलस्थितं अननातं प्रजरे चित्तपराशक्तियुतं अननातं भजरे. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditi. That was wonderful. Could we please have the next participant introduced?
Next, we have Pranav Krishna Kumar singing Shyamale Meenakshi Satta Adi Talam. Pranav is being trained under Kumari Akshara Purushothaman. This composition is in the Ragam Shankarabaranam, the 20 Mela Karta Ragam, 29th Mela Karta Ragam. This is one of the most popular ragas across the world. Over to you, Pranav.
We cannot hear you, Pranav.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. We can hear you and see you.
Sari gama pa pa dani sa sa ni da pa ma ga ma sa ma ni ga pa ga sa ri ma ri ni sa sa pa 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 ma 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 ga 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 ri ri pa pa sa pa ma ma pa ma ga ga ma ga ri ri ga ri Shyamale Meenakshi Sundareshwara Sakshi Shankari Guru Guha Samutpade Shiveva Pamaramochani Pankajalochani Padmasanavani Hari Lakshmi Vinutesham Bhavishamale Meenakshi Sundareshwara Sakshi Shankari Guru Guha Samutpade Shiveva.
Thank you very much, Pranav. Very well sung. Could we move on to the next participant, Shreya?
Next, we will have Harshadeep Rao singing Neerajakshi Kamakshi. Harshadeep is currently being trained under Sri Ramamurthy Rao. He will be introducing his kriti himself.
Good evening, everyone. I am Harshadeep. I'll be singing Neerajakshi Kamakshi today. And Neerajakshi Kamakshi is a kriti in Hindola Ragam and set to Rupakatala. I've been trained learning music from Professor K. Ramurthy Rao and also Shri Gopal Krishna, sir. Neerajakshi Kamakshi Neeradathripure Neerajakshi Kamakshi Neeradachikure Tripure Neerajakshi Kamakshi Neeradachikure Tripure Neerajakshi Kamakshi Neeradachikure Tripure Neerajakshi Kamakshi Sarasa Samanayane Sharada Chandranane Sarasa Samanayane Sharada Chandranane Sarasa Samanayane Sharada Chandranane Sarasa Samanayane Sharada Chandranane Varijapade Varade Taraya Mam Tattvapade Varijapade Varade Taraya Mam Tattvapade Ni Nidama Gagama Nidama Ni Nidama Gagama Nidama Nidama Gagama Magasani Dani Sasagagama Mani Dani Nisagagasani Samagasani Sagasani Nigasani Damani Dama Gagasani Sa Gamani Dani Sagasani Dama Gagama Manira Jakshi Kamakshi Neeradachikure Tripure Neerajakshi Kamakshi Gauri Hindola Dyuti Hiramani Maya Bharane Shauri Viranchi Vinuta Shiva Shakti Maya Navavarani Nari Manyadhyachita Navanadanta Karune Nari Manyadhyachita Navanadanta Karune Sundri Janasam Sevita Sundara Guru Guhakarane Suri Janasam Sevita Sundara Guru Guhakarane Ni Nidama Gagamama Nidama Nidama Gagamama Gasani Dani Sazagagama Ni Dani Nisagagasani Samagasani Sagasani Nigasani Damani Dama Gagasani Sa Gamani Dani Sagasani Dama Gagama Manira Jakshi Kamakshi Neeradachikure Tripure Neerajakshi Kamakshi Neeradachikure Tripure Neerajakshi Kamakshi. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Harshdeep. That was a beautiful Chittaswaram that you sang there. We really enjoyed the Chittaswaram. Thank you for
so
sharing
much.
this piece with us.
Thank you.
Shreya, could we please move on to the next participant.
Next, we will have Maithili Krishna Iyer singing Kamalasana Vandita, which is set in Ekatalam. Maithili is currently studying under Srimati Jyoti Ayala Somayajula. This composition is in Shankara Bharanam
Say
Ragam.
hi to Mamata Ata. Say hi to host Mamata.
Merakarta Ragam. Over to you, Maithili.
Yeah. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Maithili. Thanks for checking.
Yeah. Pamaga gamari riga sa 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 riga mama paga gamari ri ri pamaga gamari riga sa 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 riga magari sa ni sa riga sa 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 pamaga sani da da pa pamaga mari pamaga sani da pa magari re re pamaga pamagari magari sa 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 gama pa 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 sa pa 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 sa pa pa da pa maga mari gama pa 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 sa pa 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 sa pa gama pa magari sa 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 Amala sanaval dita padabje kamaniya karo daya samrajye Amala nagare sakala kare kamala nayana drita jagadhadhare kamale Vimale Guru Guha Janani Kamala Patinuta Hridaye Maye Kamala Sasi Vijaya Vadan Nemaye Kamalendra Vagdevi Shri Gauri Pujita Hridaya Namde Kamalakshi Pahi Kamakshi Kameshwara Varasati Kalyani Kameshwara Varasati Kalyani Kameshwara Varasati Kalyani Namaskaram.
Thank you, Maithili. Very well sung. Confident singing.
Thank
Shreya,
you.
could we move on to the next participant?
Yeah. Next, we have Vanchika Mokamati playing Santana Gopala Krishnam on the violin. Vanchika is currently being trained under Sri Arunachala Karthik. This composition is in the Ragam Kamas. This kirtana is in praise of Lord Gopala Krishna, who is praised as the bestower of progeny. Krishna is described as being accompanied by consorts Rukmini and Satyabhama, a dear friend of Arjuna and a fulfiller of one's heart's dearest desires. Kamas is a Danya Ragam of the 29th Melakarta scale Kamboti. Kamas is a ragam that brims with Shringara Rasa. It is enticing and graceful. It is an ancient ragam mentioned in musical treatises and is considered a late night raga. Over to you, Vanchika.
Hold on, Vanshika.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much, Vanshika, for the beautiful rendition of Kamas. With that, we'll like to go to the next participant. Shreya, could you please introduce our next participant?
Next, we have Dyutit and Vishalakshi Tanugula singing Shakti Sahita Ganapatim in Adi Talam. Dyutit and Vishalakshi are being trained under Kumari Akshara Purushothaman. This composition is in the ragam Shankarabharanam, the 29th Melakarta raga, one of the most popular ragas across the world. This is a Notaswaram. Over to you, Dyutit and Vishalakshi.
Shakti Sahita Ganapatim Shankaradi Sevitam Virakta Sakala Munivara Suraraja Vinuta Guru Guham Bhaktali Poshakam Bhavasutam Vinayakam Bhukti Mukti Pradam Bhushitangam Rakta Padambhujam Bhavayami Shakti Sahita Ganapatim Shankaradi Sevitam Virakta Sakala Munivara Suraraja Vinuta Guru Guham. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. That was wonderfully sung in different octaves. That sounded very synchronized and beautiful. Thank you very much again. Shreya, could we please introduce the next participant?
Yes. Next, we have Medha Sundar singing Mahaganapatim in the Ragam Nate set to Ekatalam. Medha has been trained under the Guru Kumari Akshara Purushothaman. However, she has learned this kriti from Sri Muthuswami. This composition is set to Adi Talam. This composition is a popular kirtana in praise of Lord Ganesha. This kirtana extols Ganapati as the Lord worshipped by great sages like Vashishta and Vamadeva. The son of Lord Mahadeva, who has the brilliance of thousands of cupids and patron of poems and drama, is dear to the composer Guru Puha. Nata is a Janya Ragam from the 36th Melakarta scale, Chalanata. It is an auspicious ragam sung commonly in concerts.
Namaste, I am Medha Sundar and I am singing Mahaganapatim in Ekatala, and my guru is Sri Madhu. Mahaganapatim Mahaganapatim Shri स्मरामि महागणपति मनसा स्मरामि महागणपति मनसा स्मरामि महागणपति मनसा स्मरामि वसिष्ठवामदेवादिवन्दित महागणपति मनसा स्मरामि वसिष्ठवामदेवादिवन्दित महागणपति महादेवसुतं महादेवसुतं कुरुगुहनुतं महादेवसुतं कुरुगुहनुतं नारकोटि प्रकाशं शान्तं महाकाव्यनाटकादिप्रियम् महाकाव्यनाटकादिप्रियं मूषिकवाहनमोदकप्रियं महाकाव्यनाटकादिप्रियं मूषिकवाहनमोदकप्रियं महागणपतिं मनसा स्मरामि वसिष्ठवामदेवादिवन्दित महागणपतिम्. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Medha. You did a wonderful job singing this Kriti and Shruti. That was excellent. Thank you. Shreya, could we please introduce our next participant?
Next, we have Ashita Gurudu singing Ramajanardana, which is set in Aditalam. Ashita is currently studying under Srimati Jyoti Ayala Somayajula. This composition is in Shankarabharanam Ragam, the 29th Melakatta Ragam. With regular spaced swaras, this Ragam song is oftenly the main raga in concerts. This is a Muthuswami, which is one of 39 compositions of dIkShitar. They are notable as they have an interaction between the East and West being based on Western sources. They are all composed with Sanskrit lyrics in the Western C major scale. The pitch intervals of C major scale correspond to the Shankarabharanam Ragam. These compositions are simple melodies devoid of gamakas. Over to you, Ashita.
G pa ma ri ma ga ma pa da ni sa pa da pa ma ga ri ri. Pa ga pa ma ri ma ga ma pa da ni sa pa da pa ma ga ri ga sa sa. Ga ga sa ma ma ri ma pa da pa ma ga ri ri. Ga ga sa ma ma ri ma pa da pa ma ga ri ga sa sa. Rama Janardana Ravana Mardana Ramanuja Graja Raja Vibho Pamara Mochana Pankaja Lochana Bhakta Jana Priya Palaya Mam Bhumi Janayaka Bhukti Pradayaka Bhusura Palana Bhumipate Shamala Vigraha Shanta Guru Guha Sannuta Shri Ramachandra Prabhu Sannuta Shri Ramachandra Prabhu Sannuta Shri Ramachandra Prabhu. Namaskaram.
Thank you, Archita. That was very sweet and melodious. Very well sung. Thank you. Could we move on to the next participant, Shreya? Actually, I think that with that, Shreya's emceeing is done, and we would like to move on to Ditya. Shreya, thank you very much for wonderfully introducing all our participants till now. We'd like to move to Aditya to introduce our next participant, Diksha.
Hello. Next, we will have Diksha Ganesh singing Gajanana Yutam Ganeshwaram in the ragam Vegavahini set to Adi Talam. She is the disciple of Srimati Sunanda Harish. This kirtana is in the praise of Lord Ganesha, described here as the elephant-faced god. He removes obstacles and is worshipped by Brahma, Indra, and Bhutaganas. He is the representative of Pranava, or the symbol Om. Vegavahini is the Janya Raga of the 16th Melakarta Raga Chakravaham. Go ahead, Diksha.
Gajanana Yutam Ganeshwaram Gajanana Yutam Ganeshwaram Bhajami Stajatam Sureshwaram Gajanana Yutam Ganeshwaram Bhajami Sadatam Sureshwaram Gajanana Nayutam Ganeshwaram Ajendra Pujita Vigneshwaram Kanadi Sannuta Padmakaram Ajendra Pujita Vigneshwaram Kanadi Sannuta Padmakaram Kunjara Ganjana Chaturadharakara Kuruguhakajam Pranavakara Kunjara Ganjana Chaturadharakara Kuruguhakrajam Pranavakara Magari Sarigama Pama Pada Nirisa Magari Sanida Pada Pamagari Sanida Diga Magarisa Pamanidani Pada Nirisa Nidani Sanida Pamamaga Sadika Gajanana Yutam Ganeshwaram Bhajami Sadatam Sureshwaram Gajanana Yutam Ganeshwaram. Thank you.
Thank you, Diksha. That was a beautiful Chittaswaram that you sang. Very well rendered. Thank you. Ditya, could we move on to the next participant?
Thank you. Next, we will have Ekansh Narayan singing Shamale Meenakshi in the ragam Shankarabharanam set to Adi Talam. He is the disciple of Kumari Akshara Purushothaman. This is a Muthuswara, and it's a set of 39 compositions of dIkShitar. They are notable as an interaction between the East and the West, being based on Western sources. They are composed with Sanskrit lyrics in the Western C major scale. The pitch intervals of C major scale correspond to Shankarabharana Raga. These compositions are simple melodies devoid of gamakas. dIkShitar's brother Muthuswami dIkShitar adopted Western violin to Carnatic music. It is believed that dIkShitar composed these lyrics to aid his brother to master the plain notes on the violin. Take it away, Ekansh.
sa ri ga ma pa pa da ni sa sa ni da pa ma ga ma da ma ri ga pa ga sa ri ma ri ni sa sa pa 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 ma 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 ga 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 ri 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 pa pa da pa ma ma pa ma ga ga ma ga ri ri ga ri shyamale meenakshi sundareshwara sakshi shankari guru guha samud bhave shive va pamaramochani pankajalochani padmasanavani hari lakshmi vinute shambhavi shyamale meenakshi sundareshwara sakshi shankari guru guha samud bhave shive va.
Thank you, Ekansh. That was very, very wonderful. Shruti Suddham. Congratulations. Could we have the next participant introduced, Aditya?
Next, we will have Shreya Sudarshan singing Parandamavati in the Ragam Dharmavati, set to Adi Talam. She is a disciple of Srimati Sananda Harish. This Kirtana is in the praise of Goddess Parvati, who dIkShitar describes as the gloriously shining youthful consort of Lord Shiva. She is described as the supreme light who is the embodiment of the supreme consciousness. The devout dIkShitar refers to her fondly as his mother. The Raga Dharmavati in which the Kriti is set is the 59th Melakarta Ragam. It is referred to as Dhamavati in the Muthuswami dIkShitar school of music.
Vrindavanabhati jayati Vrindavanabhati jayati Bharati Paramesha Yogati 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 Vrindavanabhati jayati jayati Paranjyoti Vikasini Paranjyoti Vikasini Paramatma Prakashini Paranjyoti Vikasini Paramatma Prakashini Nirantaram Guru Gurujanani Nirantaram Guru Gurujanani Brigadi जगदीशरञ्जनी परन्दायावती जयति निरन्तरं जगदीशरञ्जनी परन्दायावती जयति पार्वती परमेश्वरूपति परन्दायावती जयति Thank you.
Thank you, Shreya. That was a very well rendered kriti in Damavati or Dharmavati as we know it. Vidya, could we please have the next participant introduced?
Next, we will have Vanshika Mokamatis singing Shil Lakshmi Varaham, set to the ragam Abhogi in Aditalam. She is the disciple of Srimati Uma Prakash. This kirtana is in the praise of Vishnu and is in the form of Varaha. He is praised by Neela Devi and Bhudevi and is meditated upon by Lakshmi. He adorns a garland of lotus and his abode is on the river Tamrapani. This temple is Adi Varaha Perumal Temple, Kalli de Kuruchi, located on the banks of Tamraparini. This temple is 850 years old. The raga Abhogi is a pentatonic Audava raga. It is the janya of raga Karahara Priya, the 22nd Melapanta raga. Thank you.
Shri Lakshmi Varaham Bhajeham Shri Lakshmi Varaham Bhajeham Shri Lakshmi Varaham Bhajeham Shri Lakshmi Varaham Bhajeham Shri Lakshmi Sahitam Shatajanadi Supapradam Shri Lakshmi Varaham Bhajeham Shri Lakshmi Sahitam Shatajanadi Supapradam Shri Lakshmi Varaham Bhajeham Shri Lakshmi Sahitam Shitajanadi Supapradam Shri Lakshmi Varaham Bhajeham Shri Lakshmi Sahitam Shitajanadi Supapradam Shri Lakshmi Varaham. Nila Megha Kanashyamalagatram 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 Nila Bhudevi Stuti Patram Nila Megha Kanashyamalagatram Nila Bhudevi Stuti Patram Nilakanta Shiva Puruguhametram Nikila Bhakta Jana Bhayatridhatram Nilakanta Shiva Puruguhametram Nikila Bhakta Jana Bhayatridhatram Shri Lakshmi Varaham Bhajanam Shri Lakshmi Sahitam Shrita Janadi Supapradam Shri Lakshmi Varaham Mangalalaya Bhoginuta Padam Pungava Buddha Jananatam Vedanutam 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 Shankara Priyakaram Shankara Priyakaram Kubera Pratishtitam Shankachakataram Kripadaram Shankara Priyakaram Kubera Pratishtitam Shankachakataram Kripadaram Pankajasana Pramukha Sevitam Pankajasana Pramukha Sevitam Pankajamukha Bhargavi Bhavitam Pankajasana Pramukha Sevitam Pankajamukha Bhargavi Bhavitam Bangaratamra Parnitirastu Sankatahara Sadananda Sahitam Pankajasana Pramukha Sevitam Pankajamukha Bhargavi Bhavitam Bangaratamra Parnitirastu Sankatahara Sadananda Sahitam Shri Lakshmi Varaham Bhajeham Shri Lakshmi Sahitam Shrita Janadi Supapradam Shri Lakshmi Varaham
Wow, that was excellent, Vamshika. You sang Rabogi so well. You seem to have an ease with all the high notes. You hit them so well. Congratulations to you and your guru as well. Great job. Aditya, could we please have the next participant introduced?
Next, we will have Lakshmi Gonella singing Shri Saraswati Namostate in the ragam Arabi, set to Rupakatalam. She is the disciple of Srimati Rajya Lakshmi Lakaraju. Shri Saraswati Namostate. This kirtana is in praise of goddess Saraswati, and she is described by dIkShitar as being adored by Lord Vishnu, Shiva, and Shanmukha. He says that she has a lotus-like face and wears a beautiful smile. She removes the fear of the cycle of birth and death. This kriti is set to raga Arabi, which is a Janya raga of the 29th Melakarta Shankaraparana. It is an out of a Sampurna raga, which is the 5 swaras in the Arohana and all the swaras in the Avarohana. And take it away, Lakshmi.
Namaskaram. Sri Saraswati Saraswati Namostute. Sri Saraswati Namostute. Varade Sri Saraswati Namostute. Varade Sri Saraswati Namostute. Varade Sri Saraswati Namostute. Paradevate Sri Pati Gauri Pati Guru Guha Vinute Vidhiyuvate Sri Saraswati Namostute. Paradevate Sri Pati Gauri Pati Guru Guha Vinute Vidhiyuvate Sri Saraswati Namostute. Vasanatraya vivachita varamuni bhavita murte. 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 Vasavaja kila nichara. Vasava Jakhila Nichera. Vasava Jakhila Nichera Varavitarana Bahukite. Vasava Jakhila Nichera Varavitarana Bahukite. Tarasayuta Mukhamburuhe Adbhuta Charanamburuhe. Darasayuta Mukhamburuhe Adbhuta Charanamburuhe. Samsara Bhityapahe Sakala Mantrakshara Guhe. Samsara Bhityapahe Sakala Mantrakshara Guhe. Sri Saraswati Namostu Te. Paradevate Sri Pati Gauri Pati Guru Guha Vinute Vidhiyuvate Sri Saraswati Namostute. Saraswati Saraswati Saraswati. Thank you.
Thank you, Lakshmi, for a nice rendition. Aditya, can we have the next participant introduced?
Next, we will have the much-awaited Veena performance of Kumari Akshara Purushothaman. She will be playing Siddhi Vinayaka Anisham in the raga Jamaram set to the Rupakatar. She is the disciple of Sri T.R. Sambashivan. This beautiful composition is in praise of Lord Ganesha. dIkShitar meditates on Siddhi Vinayaka, on the bestower of boons, and the one worshipped by Siddhas, Yakshas, and Kinnaras. He resides in the lotus of Mooladhara. The kritis refer to Ganesha Chaturthi in the month of Bhadrapada when people worship Lord Ganesha. He is devoid of anger and desire. He is adored as the son of Parvati and the elder brother of Guru Guha. The kriti is set to the beautiful raga Shanmukha Priya, which is called Chamara. in the dIkShitar School of Music. It is the 56th Melakata Raga. It is a Sampurna Raga. Thank you.
Thank you, Akshara. That was a wonderful tribute to dIkShitar, because as we all know, dIkShitar is a Vainika himself. So thanks for presenting a beautiful tribute to dIkShitar. Aditya, could we please have the next participant introduced?
We will have Anupama Krishnamurthy singing Chetashi Balakrishnam in the ragam dvijavanti Satarupakatalam. Her guru is Vidushi Srimati Ratna Shrikant, and she learned this kriti from her father. The ragam dvijavanti is a Janya ragam derived from Hari Kamboji on the 29th Melakarta. This is an ancient raga from North India. This ragam is intensely devotional and sparsely used in Carnatic music. Cheta Shri Balakrishnam means it's a composition in the praise of Lord Balakrishna. It describes his lotus-like feet, which can grant any boon, and his beautiful dark body adorned with yellow silk and a conch. And he lifted the Govardhana hill. He destroyed his foes and is the avataram of Rama. He's continued to be described to have a face that smells like fresh butter, and his speech is described to be soft. He emanates the fragrance of tulsi and other flowers. dIkShitar sings that he is the protector of worlds, and he is praised by Guru Guha himself. And take it away, Anupama.
Namaste. Thanks to ACTS for this opportunity to make my offering to Sri dIkShitar. This is a Vilamba Kala Kruti, but I'm going to speed it up a little bit to make it shorter owing to some throat issues. Thank you. Cheta Shri Balakrishna Cheta Shri Balakrishna Chintita Prada Chara Naravildam Mukundam Chintita Prada Chara Naravildam Mukundam Cheta Shri Balakrishna Nutana Nirada Sadrusha Shariram Dakishoram Pitavasana Dharam Tam Kaltharam Giridharam Putanadi Samharam Purushottamavataram Putanadi Samharam Purushottamavataram Shitala Hridaya Viharam Shri Rukminidaram Cheta Shri Balakrishna Navanita Gandhavahavanam Pradanam नलिनपत्रनयनं वटपत्रशयनम् नवचम्पकनासिकं वदसि सुमभासकं नटेन्द्रादिलोकपालकं मृगमदतिलकम् नवतुलसीवनमालं नारदादिपुञ्जालं कुवलयादिपरिपालं गुरुगुहनुतगोपालं नवतुलसीवनमालं नारदादिपुञ्जालं कुवलयादिपरिपालं गुरुगुहनुतगोपालं चेत् श्रीबालकृष्णं भजति चिन्तितार्थ प्रदचर नारव्यूतं मुकुन्दं चेत् श्रीबालकृष्णं भजते Thank you.
Thank you, Anupama. That was a very soulful rendition of the beautiful Kriti of dIkShitar. Thank you very much. With that, we move on to the last performance for the day. Aditya, could you please introduce our performers?
Next, we will have Sri Ashwin and Rohan Ayers singing Jambu Pate in Yamuna Kalyani Ragam set to Rupakatalam. Yamuna Kalyani is a Janya Ragam of Mecha Kalyani, the Nilakarta Ragam, bringing out Bhakti, Shingara, Gambira, and Shanta rasas. This ragam is said to be borrowed from Hindustani music. This ragam has peaceful, soothing, and romantic mood and is considered an evening ragam. This ragam has all the swaras of this note gives it its distinctive and peaceful quality. In this kriti, dIkShitar cries out for protection from Lord Shiva and asks for undiminished happiness. And he continues to describe the Lord and brings in reference all water bodies that signify the element of water. He describes the Lord's loving nature, compassion, and how he is a source of happiness. He continues to describe the Lord as the one who is indescribable and as the sound from which the universe originated, and as the one who wears the crescent and the Ganga upon his head. He sings that Lord Shiva is forever in a state of nothingness and he's pure consciousness without any distinguishable attributes.
Thank you very much, Aditya. So myself and my brother Rohan will perform this composition together. At the moment, I'm of course in Edmonton and Rohan is in Toronto. And as you certainly know, there's a lag when you try to coordinate video conferences between two people. Certainly that prevents them from singing at the same time. But Rohan and I have worked out a technological solution that will hopefully create the impression of us singing simultaneously. What we're doing is live. Let me say a couple of things about this kriti in addition to what Aditya mentioned. This is one of the Pancha Bhuta kritis of Muthuswami dIkShitar. So he has visited the 5 temples near Trichy in southern India, where Lord Shiva is represented as the 5 elements. And this is the kriti showcasing Lord Shiva as the element of water. And so you'll notice that it makes several references to the rivers of India, Ganga, Yamuna, Kaveri, and in that comes the Raga Mudra. Dikshita referred to this raga as Yamuna. Jambu Bate Mam Pahi Nijam Ananda Amrita Bodam Deye Hi Jambu Bate Mam Pahi Nija Ananda Amrita Bodam Deye Hi Jambu Pate Mam Pahi Nija Ananda Amrita Bodam Deye Hi Jambu Pate Hum puja sanadi sakala devana mana puja sanadi sakala devana mana tum gurunuta hridayata popashna manna ambudi ganga kaveri yamuna ambudi ganga kaveri yamuna kambu kandyakilande shwari ramana jambu Pate Mam Pahi Nija Ananda Amrita Bodam Deye Hi Jambu Pate Parvata ja pratita buling garibo parvata ja pratita buling garibo Panchabhuta Maya Prapancha Prabho Sarva
जीव दयाकर शम्भो सामजाट नीलय स्वयं भो सर्वकरुणा सुदसिन्धो शरणागत वत्सलार्थबन्धो अनिर्वचनीय नाद बिन्दो नित्यमौळि विधृत गङ्गेन्दो निर्विकल्पक समाधि निष्ठ शिव कल्पक तरो निर्विकल्पक समाधि निष्ठ शिव कल्पक तरो निर्विशेष चैतन्य निरंजन गुरु गुह गुरु निर्विकल्पक समाधि निष्ठ शिव कल्पक तरो निर्विशेष चैतन्य निरंजन गुरु गुह गुरु जम्बूपते मां पाहि निज आनंद अमृत बोधं ने जम्बूपते
Thank you, Ashwin and
All
Rohan.
right.
That was amazing.
In that case,
Sorry. Hopefully everybody can hear me.
Yes, Ashwin,
Okay.
that was amazing.
Thank you, Mamta. Thanks. So with that, we have concluded day one of our Muthuswami dIkShitar ArAdhanA, the 9th annual such ArAdhanA in Edmonton. Day two tomorrow begins at 2 p.m. with individual singing. We have 30 more participants tomorrow presenting compositions, their tributes to Muthuswami dIkShitar. I would like to invite everybody to join promptly at 2 p.m. tomorrow with the other YouTube link, and for participants, the other Zoom link, the Zoom link you've been sent, so that we can get started on time and make sure that we get through all 30 participants. Before I go, I'm going to do this tomorrow as well, but I definitely want to thank all of our youth group participants and our youth group coordinator, Yogashri Bharat, for the wonderful presentation on Muthuswami dIkShitar today, which provided the context for everything that we've presented today and will present tomorrow. So in particular, Kushal and Akshara, Dutit, Ekangsh, Swara, Meda, Ishan, and everybody who made this possible, the MCs and the hosts today, and all of our ACTS volunteers. Thank you so much. I hope everybody who's watching online enjoyed the function, even though we had to switch to a virtual format at the last minute. Thank you very much, and we will continue the festival tomorrow promptly at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. Thank you everyone for your attendance. See you tomorrow.